Yes, hello everyone, Paul Girashkity, Cúilín Media. Welcome back for another weekend preview show here on the channel. Is myself, Seamus Brady, joined by Liam White. We will have a full house on this podcast episode. Matthew Hurley and Aaron Prendergast will be with us when they are ready to go. But Liam, we have plenty to get through in this episode. Not as much as in other weeks. There isn't the same, in terms of just sheer volume of games, but still in terms of significance, some very significant games this weekend. We have the rest of the action from round one of the All-Ireland Senior Football Championships, including the clashes of Dublin versus Louth, Monaghan versus Mayo, Armagh Derry, Westmeath Cavan. We have the All-Ireland Under-20 Football Championship final between Kerry and Tyrone, the All-Ireland Under-20 Hurling Championship final between Clare and Galway, the Christy Ring Cup final, the Nickey Rackard Cup final, and the Lory Meagher Cup final. We have round two of the All-Ireland Senior Camogie Championship Group 2, and we also have action from the All-Ireland Intermediate LGFA Championship Round 1 and the All-Ireland Junior LGFA Championship Round 1 as well. And as always, our championship coverage of 2026 is proudly partnered by ATAK Sports. Big shout out to the lads for backing us there on this. If you need any sports gear, check them out at ATAK Sports across their socials and their website. So for the start of it, joined by Liam White, of course. Liam, how are we keeping?
Yeah, not too bad. Like you mentioned there, Seamus, Jesus, when you actually think about it, the amount of games that we've just had to consume every single weekend over the last number of weeks, it's no wonder our episodes are fierce long, to be honest with you. Like, you're trying to get through as much as you can and giving every team the respect that they deserve and everything like that, which I do think we do, to be fair. But yeah, no, very much looking forward to this weekend. My full focus will be on Budapest for Saturday night, I'll be honest with you, given the circumstances of that. But nope, still a big weekend ahead. Very much looking forward to it. I mean, Jesus, Monaghan Mayo for me is a huge clash on Sunday. You have a side who narrowly missed out on winning an Ulster title versus a team who probably have a lot to prove after probably disappointing themselves in Connacht. Dublin, Louth, a replay. Are Louth going to be as bad this time as they were the last time against Dublin? You know, the under-20 finals, like you mentioned. So, yeah, it's in for a cracking weekend. Obviously, a bank holiday weekend as well. So, looking forward to it. And, can't wait to get into the games.
Absolutely. So, we have plenty of comments in the chat as well, led by Brendan Kennelly, Sean O'Malley, and, of course, Peter Griffin. Big shout out to you three for leading the charge. If you're new here on the show, get involved in the live chat. Let us know your thoughts on the current state of affairs in the GAA and what you're looking forward to the most from this weekend of action. Peter here has a comment that, Aaron, I've seen you've been fairly active on social media about this. He says, so Jimmy has no case to answer according to the CCCC. Ger and the Dubs must be fuming over this. Aaron, I don't think you agree with the decision.
Yeah, absolutely not. Like, it just makes no sense, doesn't it? I feel like it's one of them where they couldn't, they probably couldn't ban McGuinness without banning Clifford. And I think maybe behind the scenes they've gone, well, you know, the best case scenario there is, all right, we don't ban Clifford, well then we can't ban McGuinness. So it just feels like they have kind of bottled it a little bit in regards to that, in my opinion. Especially, when you look at the rules, like, the rules are the rules. Like, it's, you know, like, I don't think McGuinness should be banned, but I don't think Brennan should have been banned for as long. You know, like 12 weeks, not even able to attend training. Like, it just makes no sense. And I think it's one of them where, and like, a few people have made a good point as well, that like the stock of Gaelic football, the product itself, probably if you don't have McGuinness and Clifford, two big personalities, one of the greatest players in the game, you don't have them available for large periods of the championship or for the next couple of games or whatever it may have been. Not as many people might watch, do you know what I mean? And it's just, it is very frustrating. Like, I'd love to see some clarification on how they came to this decision. And it's interesting to see if Dublin, you know, do anything in regards to this. Like, if they try and appeal it or anything. Doesn't look like that's the case, but yeah.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see if we try appeal it now. A2 here saying blatant favoritism. It's a complete joke. Sean I says the CCCC's excuse was pitiful. The GA has dropped the ball for giving Brennan that ridiculous lengthy ban. Dermot Spallin here says, I think All-Ireland matches are hard to predict. Dublin Louth, what Dublin will show up. Armagh were partying hard. Still talk of Reno O'Neill coming back. Monaghan Mayo is like flipping a coin. Brendan Kennelly, of course, proud Kerry man, says the Christy Ring final for me, as a Kerry are a Joe McDonough level team and hopefully get back to where they belong. And I'm delighted to announce as well, Matthew Hurley has joined us. We have a full house now. Matthew, how are we feeling? How are we looking ahead to the weekend's action?
Yeah, some decent games ahead. Like the under-20 finals should be decent enough in terms of the football and the hurling. And you have the lower tier finals, which have their day in the sun in the likes of the Christy Ring, the Nickey Rackard, Lory Meagher, all them competitions as well. So yeah, looking forward to the weekend. More so in those sorts of games where silverware is on the line in many ways. So yeah, looking forward to them.
Absolutely. So Dermot here says David Clifford and Michael Murphy are golden childs of the GAA. Both should have been suspended with McGuinness as well. I would look at it and go, Murphy definitely got away with winning the league final. So if David Clifford got away with winning that championship game, maybe it's nature's way of evening it up. But A2 here saying, Matthew, please don't predict Dublin to win by 10 plus again. We're going to come onto that game, of course, first. Brendan says, look, Pat Spillane said both McGuinness and Clifford should have been banned. And I agree, says Brendan as well. But we're going to start off with the game that definitely most of us are invested in, the Dublin versus Louth game, especially myself and Aaron. It's a repeat of the Leinster Senior Football semi-final from this year. Dublin versus Louth, Sunday at 2:30 in Croke Park. This one live on GAA+. What's very interesting, Aaron, is even though the sides met a few weeks ago, already that game feels like a long, long time ago, and it feels like a lot has changed since that game.
Yeah, and it's mad. Like, I mean, Louth haven't played since that game. So their last game was against ourselves. Obviously, we had the one game versus Westmeath. But yeah, it feels like there has been a lot that has happened. And yeah, like it was like being at that game in Portlaoise, like it was probably Dublin's best performance of the season that day. Defensively, we were really, really solid. We were turning Louth over. Sean McMahon marked Sam Mulroy completely out of the game. So Mulroy didn't really have any influence. He couldn't strut his stuff like he normally would. And in fairness to Ger Brennan and Dublin's management, they got a lot spot on. And it makes sense because Ger Brennan was obviously the manager of Louth last season. So he did his homework. He knew the ins and outs, and he knew the ways to stop Louth. He knew as well with Conor Grimes. Let Conor Grimes have the ball and run with it. And let him charge at us, but he can't do any. He couldn't do anything with it on that particular game. We got our matchups absolutely spot on, and it was brilliant. But there's no getting away from it. Louth were very poor that day. Like the amount of chances, the opportunities that they missed, like they were way off it in terms of their usual performance. Every game that Dublin have been in a tight battle with this season, other than Wicklow, they've lost. Monaghan maybe a little bit all right, fair enough. They won that in the league, but they won that fairly comfortably towards the end, in the end of the game. But every other game that's been a close battle, Westmeath, Armagh, Galway, Kerry, Donegal, like we haven't, like anytime pressure is applied to us, we do seem to crumble. We don't really seem to have maybe the leaders on the pitch or the players there to kind of drag it out of us anymore. And the worrying thing against Westmeath was like we kept making the same mistakes just over and over. Like we kept hitting kickouts long when it wasn't working. We kept going down around the middle of the pitch. We didn't have any plan to kick 2-pointers at all until we had to, and then we panicked because this isn't a team that is used to kicking 2-pointers. So that when we find ourselves in a scenario where we need to kick 2-pointers, it's like we just panic and we start shooting from all ridiculous angles and everything else and take shots that aren't even on. So it's a hard one to know, really. I honestly think this game will boil down to Louth. I think it will depend on what version of Louth we get in this game. If they're bang up for this and they show their quality that we know that they can show, I think they'll win the game. At the same time, though, there is that voodoo that Dublin just do seem to have over Louth. As we've seen, obviously, in recent years. And there's no question that Dublin will want to bounce back. They were angry against Louth in that Leinster semi-final. They're probably going to be angry in this game as well. Do you know what I mean? After what happened against Westmeath. So, and like there was parts of the Westmeath game that were good. Like Patrick Cufford-Byrne was brilliant until he goes off injured. Like even the way we were able to hang in the game and turn it around, and obviously Davy Byrne gets the point. Like it would have been a great win if we had a kind of seen through it. We would have been talking about how resilient Dublin were and everything else. But yeah, like it's for me, it definitely boils down to what version of Louth we see. And as attacker number 2 says, yeah, hoodoo, voodoo, I don't know. Dublin might have a voodoo over themselves the way things are going as well.
Absolutely. Look, I think it's one of the most important things to remember as well is when Louth were coming into that game against Dublin, not only were people saying that Louth were favourites and going to win, but people were saying Louth were going to win easy. And that fire that was in Dublin's belly that day, they won't have it to the same level, I don't think. And I think that win for Westmeath, I was there. Aaron, you were there as well. That felt shattering. Like, that felt like Jesus. Like, we looked so beatable in the key stages of the game. And yeah, like, if Louth don't look at the Westmeath game and go, we can beat Dublin, I don't know when they're ever going to beat Dublin, to be honest. And yeah, to be honest, yeah, I'm a bit spooked by this one, to be honest, because we came into that game with a lot of aggression, that Leinster semi-final. Louth will be the ones that will have more aggression in this one, I feel, because they have something to put right with us, specifically with the Dubs. We have something to show in general in terms of to bounce back from that Leinster final. But Louth have a point to prove against us. And I honestly do think that all the talk went against Louth the last time. I'm not sure that Louth necessarily let it go to their heads, but it definitely went to Dublin's heads. And they were like, we're going to fucking like tear the hinges off the door here. Like, we're going to absolutely burst through these. And they did. But I don't think Dublin will come with the same energy, especially in Croke Park. And I also think as well, I think Louth will travel better than Dublin to this game. I think there'll be more Louth fans in the stadium. And then on top of that, I don't think Louth will allow themselves to get ahead of themselves again. I think they'll realise that they have a job to do. And Paddy O'Coffey-Byrne, if he's still out, I think that could be massive, because getting hold of the kickouts the last day was one of the most important bits of the game. But yeah, we'll come to you in just a second, Matthew. But just as a little bit of a treat and as a little bit of a difference for this week, we reached out to one of the most famous Louth fans in the game right now, very popular GA content creator, Grace Cullen. That piece is coming out tomorrow on the Cúilín Media channel. I sat down with Grace and asked her, to help me preview this game, and the full preview is going to be coming out tomorrow on the channel. But this is the part where we discuss what is going to be the key difference in who gets over the line on the weekend.
And then that kind of brings me to the last point. Where will this game be won and lost?
I think confidence for our lads is number one. Like, I think they need to go in confident, knowing that we can play this game. Like, we can break you down. We can, man mark. We can, whatever we need to do just to stop us. I think learning from what happened in Portlaoise to Sunday is confidence. I genuinely think it's down to confidence. And I also think it's down to our kickouts. Like, in the games that we've won and won well, or played really well, is when we executed our kickouts so well, like breaking them down, breaking ball, cleaning them in the air. I don't know what's going to happen, like injury wise. Dublin side, I don't know who's going to be coming back in or not, but I think if we can just not panic on our kickouts and our kickout strategy, as in if we can try and win as many kickouts as we can and like hold the ball, I think that's where we'll learn from the last. I know obviously kicking and accuracy is a lot better, and our accuracy in kicking was terrible in Portlaoise, but I definitely think confidence number one. Like, the lads need to have the confidence to go in and say, like, we're fit, we can do this, and don't overthink it. And number two, I think the main thing is for us is our kickouts, because when you keep, I've noticed with the Louth lads like this year, when they went on a spell of losing their kickouts, that their heads drop, they go down, or we're not winning, and then the less the players come up to try and win the kickout, because they're like, we're not winning them, and then the other team are just kind of steaming ahead. So I think it's more confidence kickouts, and then hopefully our accuracy. Now, we've played in Croke Park enough this year and last year, so I'm hoping that's good. But I think for me that's the two things: confidence and our kickouts.
Okay, Matthew, what do you think about that? Confidence and kickouts, are they the key to win for Louth?
They have to be the key, because I've got unconfirmed reports that Samuel Roy has a broken tibia, so he's not going to be available. So if he's missing, that is a massive blow for Louth, and they won't have the attacking threat that they probably wouldn't have. They usually would have. that makes the likes of Conor Grimes and the likes of Tommy Durnan a lot more crucial than in previous games. And even if Craig Lennon is fit, that's going to be crucial for Louth as well, because his running game is absolutely brilliant. And especially with Paddy O'Coffey-Byrne probably going to be out as well, Louth have to win the kick-out battle. If they don't do it, they're not going to win the game. It's as simple as that. Like, the thing is, I probably still fancy Dublin to win the game, not as much as 10 points. I'm not going to be that derogatory, but yeah, I do think Dublin will win the game, simply because I know O'Coffey-Byrne is probably going to be out. But from the reports that I got, Colin Basket, Lee Gannon, and Owen Merchant are all back in training. Con is 90% there apparently. So if that's true, I think Dublin have a massive advantage. Look at that, and especially with Mulroy out as well. Craig Lennon, I don't know what his fitness situation is as well. So yeah, I do think Dublin will get over the line. Louth have to do well in their kickouts, as Grace said there. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. See who does get over the line. And to be honest with you, I'd like either Dublin or Louth to come down to Páirc Uí Rinn. So I'm up for either to win the game this weekend.
Okay, but you're going for Dublin.
Yeah.
Okay, Aaron, are you going for Dublin as well?
Yeah, I'm gonna go for Dublin by a point after extra time. I don't think it's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be a bit of a slugfest. I think both teams are going to miss big chances, big opportunities, and everything else. But yeah, I'm going to go with Dublin to narrowly come through.
I think if Mulroy's out, and I think if a few of those lads are back, like Merchant, Gannon, if Conor O'Callaghan is back, I think that's the difference. I think Dublin bounce back and get this win. However, I am nowhere near as confident, and I will say this, I'm nowhere near as confident in this game as I was in the Leinster semi-final. I had a feeling that we were going to kick up in the Leinster semi-final, because I thought we're getting such disrespect here. But then for the Leinster final, there was no disrespect. Everyone was saying, oh, Dublin are going to cruise home against Westmeath. And I think then we took our foot off the accelerator. But yeah, Dublin to bounce back. Liam, is it a clean sweep?
It's still a tough one, because I would be generally agreeing in terms of when you're saying about Mulroy being out, Craig Lennon maybe not being 100%, and some of the players that are back for Dublin. But if there's one thing that this championship has told me in both hurling and football, is injuries mean absolutely nothing. Do you know what I mean? Like, Luke Loughlin wasn't there for Westmeath the last day, and Westmeath still won, when a lot of people just said there's no chance that they win without him. I've seen Cork this season have how many injuries against Waterford. They had, was it Robert Downey wasn't playing, Kieran Joyce wasn't playing, and somebody else wasn't playing in the back line. Can't think off the top of my head now. But like, you know, missing just such key players and yet still winning games out. You know, I've just seen that so many times this season, where teams have so many injuries, have such crucial players out for key games, and yet they still find a way to win their games. So I wouldn't say I am as confident to say Dublin will win this weekend. I'm also not that confident to say Louth will, because they did disappoint me against She in the opening day. Like, I'd be lying if I said that they didn't. Like, 10 points and what's it, they kicked 18, 19 wides, something like that. Hit a lot of shots short. Like, it was very disappointing that day. Now look, Sam Mulroy is a generational footballer for Louth, absolutely, and Craig Lennon as well, top class players. And look, like you said there, O'Coffey-Byrne, he's saying he might not be there, and I know, but he said Colin Basquel will be there, and the likes of Conor Callahan, if he's 90% fit, let's be honest, he'll be 100% fit. At 90% fit, Conor Callahan is better than most players in the country. I agree with Aaron. I don't think it's going to be a great game. I could see it being very sluggish. Both teams maybe being a small bit nervous. I think just because it's in Croke Park now, I know that meant nothing the last day in terms of playing Westmeath, but I am going to just slightly back Dublin. Look, Dublin broke their, I can't remember if it's a hoodoo or voodoo now. I'm getting confused like Aaron is with that comment.
Hoodoo.
Hoodoo, yes. I know Dublin broke their hoodoo last weekend with Kilkenny and hurling, but I just don't see Louth doing it this weekend with the Dublin footballers. I just think there is just a weird thing about Dublin and Louth and football. So I'm going to go with Dublin to win by, I'd say maybe 2 points, but again, do I see this being a classic? Absolutely not.
Yeah, and slight spoiler, Grace went with Louth. But yeah, I think it's an interesting one. Personally, I think Louth have a much better chance of winning this one, in my opinion. But yeah, Peter here saying, Seamus / Aaron, do you think that they should have gone with Parnell Park? Personally, yes. Aaron,
I think for this one, yeah.
I think to regain that kind of love between the fans and the players, because Do you know the way that like people can go onto the pitch at the end of the game in other stadiums? Like how long has it been since you went onto the field at the end of a Dublin football match? Like never. Like
only in other away games, like
yeah,
not in home games.
Yeah. So I think both of us would have loved to see at Parnell Park just to regain that kind of bond between the fans and the players again. And then once you have that bond, people tend to travel a lot more and they tend to go to every game as much as they can. And personally, I think that Louth will travel well for this one. I wouldn't be surprised if there's more red and white in the stands than sky blue and navy. But hopefully the Dubs fans can get out in their droves because we need to bounce back from this one. We've gone for the Dubs, but it's going to be a very, very interesting one. Moving on to the next game. This one is another huge clash on Saturday night, 7:15 p.m. in the Athletic Grounds. Another one live on GA+. Armagh versus Derry. The Ulster champions Armagh going up against a team who won Ulster back-to-back just only a few years ago. But these sides know each other very, very well. And I'll let Sean lead us off into this one. He says, I have a feeling Derry are going to beat Armagh. There was a few games where the teams with longer layoffs get the jump on provincial winners, which is another reason why I think Louth will get the W in their game. Matthew, he has a point there when you're talking about what we've seen in the recent precedent, Roscommon losing to Tyrone. Could Derry pull the rug from under Armagh in this one?
Well, Galway and Cork did get the job done last weekend, so it's not entirely true, I would say. But at the same time, I think Derry have a lot to prove after that game against Monaghan. Well, in the first half, they looked exemplary at times, and then they lost concentration towards the end of it, and Monaghan caught them on the hop. Armagh, I think, have been, if you could talk about Kerry, you could talk about Donegal, like Armagh have been my team of the year so far. I think they've been sensational. I know in the league they didn't get the results that they probably deserved, but I think Armagh's forwards, their wing backs, their midfield, I think they've been absolutely incredible this season so far. There were certain games in the league where they should have won and they lost the game. Galway springs to mind actually in that league competition. A few games here or there against Mayo as well. But in the championship, it's starting to click now. Tyrone wasn't perfect, but they got over the line. Fermanagh, very good first half, and they could lax a bit in the second half. Obviously, the semi-final against Down, they absolutely thumped them. And then in the final against Monaghan, they did what Armagh usually do and kept it interesting. But overall, they were the way better team than Monaghan in that Ulster final. And there seems to be more of a drive about this Armagh side. Like the forwards that they do possess, Conor Turbot, I think, is the joint second top scorer in the championship overall. He's only joined with Stephen Sherlock and only behind Dermot Murtagh. So he's probably going to take the lead this weekend, considering Murtagh's 3 points ahead of him. So he's had a really, really good season, probably under the radar, in my opinion. Jardy O'Byrne's absolutely brilliant from wing back. You've Ross McQuillan probably back to full fitness as well. So you have some absolutely brilliant talent in that Armagh side. I think Armagh have been brilliant. There is a capability for Derry to turn up and win this game, considering it is Derry. They are a good Ulster side. They're well capable of shocking Armagh with the likes of Niall Loughlin, and Loughlin Murray has done well this season. Shane McGuigan as well. So look, Derry have all the capabilities of beating this Armagh side. The form that the Orchard are on, though, I can't see them getting beaten. I really can't. I think Armagh will win the game, but I think Derry could seriously bloody their nose this weekend.
Okay, so it's one vote for Armagh. I'm actually going to upset the apple cart. I think there's a bit of a precedent being set. Kerry won Munster, beaten by Donegal. Roscommon won Connacht, beaten by Tyrone. Personally, I think that we could see a situation where both Westmeath and Armagh lose this weekend. So I'm going to go with Derry to upset the apple cart here. Armagh on a high. As was said in the comments, they've been out having fun, having a few parties here, left, right, and centre. I feel like Derry would have been keeping the head down. Peter here is saying Armagh are down in Johnstown House for a super camp recently, security all over it. A2 saying Armagh should win, but there's always a bump in the road with them. Sean says, I think it's different when you win because the winners also go on the beer and then have to rewind their heads a bit for a championship game next week. Peter saying Armagh by 6, Armagh by 4-5, but it won't be smooth sailing. Gavin says Derry haven't been consistent. I go with Armagh by 6. Geezer barely let the lads celebrate Ulster, says Peter, but I'm still going with the shock. Liam, what are you thinking?
Well, I think Derry certainly need a big response after the way that they collapsed against Monaghan. But I also think Derry are a really good side. Even in their, bad year last year, they still put up good fight against Armagh, away from home. So they're definitely capable of beating them. There's no doubt about it. But in fairness to Armagh, like the way that they got through Tyrone after extra time, the way they just took care of business rather comprehensively against both Fermanagh and Down, and a Down team that knocked Donegal out in the previous round, and the way they came through extra time to get past, a very decent Monaghan team who had a lot of spirit in them after their couple of wins in the championship as well. I think Armagh are. I kind of agree with Matthew. If I would still probably, weirdly, even after that defeat last weekend, I probably would still see Kerry weirdly as the team to beat this year. Just they're a team that could just hit form later on the year like they did after losing to Meath last year. Maybe it's to kick up the arse they needed. But Armagh, I've been very impressed with this season. I agree with everything that Matthew said. They should have gotten more points in the league. Their performances and the points that they got in the end wasn't justifiable, in my opinion. And they've been very, very good in the championship. And listen, their ultimate goal, I think, in a way, was to win Ulster again after so long. But now that they've won that, and they won the All-Ireland 2 years ago, I could imagine their confidence is just absolutely up here at the moment. And they'll be absolutely desperate to try and, get a bit of form at the moment. Listen, Donegal are probably the team to beat at the moment. But at the same time, Armagh don't fear them. They've narrowly lost to them over the years. They know they can compete with them. They've seen Kerry lose the opening round as well. They could be thinking to themselves, you know what, there's an opportunity there this year as well as the other teams. So, look, Armagh, I'm really impressed with them. I'm impressed with Derry as well. I haven't seen them once or twice this year. They play really nice football. They've a lot of really good footballers in their team. There's no doubt about it. However, Armagh have that thing at the moment of getting over the line in big games, whereas Derry, they don't at the moment. They really let it slip against Monaghan. So I do think Armagh are going to win this game. I'm going to go with them to win by maybe 8 points. I think Derry could be like right up with them with about 10-15 minutes to go. But then I could just see Armagh unloading the bench. You could have Jardy O'Byrne just going on a tear, getting a 2-pointer out of nowhere. Connaughty just having a storming last 10 minutes as well, coming good. And yeah, I think Armagh will win it. But I think it will be competitive. It'll be a competitive 8-point victory, but I think Armagh should seal their place in the next round.
Aaron, what are you thinking?
Yeah, no, I'm thinking Armagh as well. I think Derry will have their moments, all right. Like they will pinch holes within this Armagh side, and in typical Armagh fashion, when there'll be moments in the game where they're looking a bit vulnerable and everything else, and Derry kind of get into it. But I just don't think the mettle or resolve is there within the Derry side that was there a couple of years ago. I think when the pressure gets applied to them, a bit like Dublin as well, I think they crack a little bit now, to be honest. I don't know if their bigger players like McGuigan, Rogers are as influential on this Derry side as maybe they were a couple of years ago. I think now they're looking at Lachlan Murray and Paul Cassidy and these lads to kind of make more of an impact than maybe previous years. So I think Armagh will do it. I don't really think there would have been a huge amount of celebrations, to be honest. You saw even McGeeney's post-match interview. He said it meant more for the players really to him. And I think he would have had these players absolutely lock back down and everything else. And go again and try win the All-Ireland, because they're more than good enough to do it. And they have this opportunity and chance now. Again, you talk about windows of opportunity. And I know Armagh have had a couple of younger players come into the team in recent years, but you have to capitalise, I think, while you have a chance. And looking at Kerry, who are looking quite vulnerable and everything else, it's a massive opportunity for Armagh, in my opinion, to win the All-Ireland. You get the win, and then you're one more win away from a quarter-final, and I think they will do it by 6 points.
Perfect. So 3 of us have gone for Armagh, and I'm the one-man band out going with Derry. Most people in the chat as well are going with Armagh to take this one. But yeah, that is the second game that's on Saturday at 7:15 p.m. live on GAA Plus in the Athletic Ground. Switching over then to the other game that is taking place on Sunday. Dublin Louth is at 2:00. Monaghan Mayo is on at 4:00. In Clonus, live on RTE. This one could be a pretty good one, lad. Monaghan with home advantage in this one. Mayo needing to bounce back after their disappointing Connacht Championship campaign, after a very impressive league campaign. Liam, Monaghan have kind of gone the other way. Very, very poor league campaign, and then a very impressive Ulster Championship campaign, culminating in an epic final showdown against Armagh, which went all the way to extra time. What are you expecting from this one?
It's going to be a very interesting contest. I don't think it's going to be like what we saw in the league in terms of Mayo putting up they could put up 230, but I just don't see it happening again this time. Mayo need a really big response though. Like if they could do something like what they did in the league to them this time around, then it'd be a massive, massive statement, because they were so disappointing in their semi-final against Roscommon. Like I remember at the time backing Mayo to win the game just simply because I saw their forward line and I thought, woof, the Roscommon full back line is going to be in for a long old day. And I think only Colby scored more than 2 points in the game. I think in their full forward line, which would have been really, really disappointing for Andy Moran and everything like that. But yeah, look, at the same time, Andy Moran will know this Monaghan team inside out, having worked with him the last couple of years as well. So he won't have as much homework to do maybe as he did for other teams. But look, Monaghan are coming into this game off the back of a really, really good Ulster campaign. Like taking Armagh to extra time was really, really impressive going. They could have won the match in the end, and what a super win that would have been for them. You know, a team that were so lackluster in the league to then come back and win the Ulster Championship after beating teams like Cavan, who they've struggled against over the years, beating Derry and the comeback, and then going on to beat Armagh. It would have been one of the best Ulster wins over the last number of years, in my opinion, in a long time. But look, it's going to be an extremely tough game to call. I think it's going to be a lot closer than the league game. There's no doubt about it. Mayo, I think, need a response more than Monaghan do, to be honest with you. Like Mayo, if Mayo are going to be serious, it's hard for me to say right now that they're All-Ireland contenders, but if they're going to be really serious about being even some sort of an underdog, they need to pick up a win this weekend, and they need their players to perform. There's absolutely no doubt about it. Like Aidan O'Shea the last day, if we're going to be honest about it, he's given a lot to the Mayo jersey, but he was extremely, extremely disappointing the last day against Roscommon. Like Keane McHale was taken off early. Jordan Flynn only got a point. Ryan O'Donoghue was doing his best, of course, at centre forward, as he always does. But just overall, it was very lackluster from Mayo the last day. So they're going to have to really, really improve in that this weekend. They're going to have to put someone on Desi Board. Probably, to be honest with you, they're probably going to have to put somebody on Rory Began, to be honest with you, at this point. But yeah, look, it's going to be a very, very tight game. I think Monaghan coming into it, like, I know they lost after extra time, but technically over 70 minutes, they drew the game against Armagh. So that shows what kind of level they're playing at the moment. Having the game at home as well. I like this Monaghan team, and do you know what? Screw it. I'm going to back Monaghan to win this game of the weekend by 3 points. Why not? I think Mayo desperately need a response, but Mayo are playing really good football at the moment. They have a never say die attitude, as proven by the last 2 games. And yeah, I could see Gabriel Bannigan's side pulling off a major win this weekend and putting Mayo under severe pressure as they head into the losers round the next time out.
Sean here saying back in Mayo for the W, 220 to 121. I'm going to back Mayo as well for a couple of key reasons. Number one, Liam, you made a great point when you were talking on the Mayo side of it. Mayo have more to prove than Monaghan do after the provincial championship campaign. Number two, I can't get it out of my head that Mayo battered Monaghan in the league. Absolutely annihilated them. Number three, Andy Moran does have insider knowledge maybe on how to go about taking on the Rory Began problem. He was obviously in the coach. He was in the backroom team there with Monaghan previously. Number four, I think that Ulster final would have taken a lot out of Monaghan. That was a real war to the bitter end. And you could see that they completely ran out of gas in extra time. Stephen O'Hanlon looked fucked at the end. Rory Began looked like he couldn't walk anymore. Like, they really, really left it all out on the field. Mayo have been sitting there. I know they've been doing the challenge games and everything like that. No county is ever actually just twiddling thumbs waiting for the game to come around. They're all preparing, obviously. But in my opinion, Mayo will be more chomping at the bit to get at this game. And weirdly enough, they seem to play better when they're not in Castlebar. So I think personally, Mayo are going to take this one. So that's one for Monaghan, one for Mayo. Matthew, I'll go to you next.
Yeah, I think Mayo will win it. Monaghan, I'm not sure how they beat Derry in that semi-final, but I think their luck is about to run out. I think Mayo will get over the line in the end, and it'll probably be comfortable enough.
Aaron, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think Mayo should do enough as well. I would be worried from a Mayo perspective if this game was like close, they could crumble a little bit. The pressure could get the better of them and everything else. And especially with it being in Monaghan as well, obviously the majority of Monaghan fans there, like you could absolutely see a scenario where Monaghan potentially nick it, and especially in line with how this championship has gone. But I think for Mayo, like, it was such a bad defeat to Roscommon. Like, to lose to Roscommon is bad enough, but to lose the way that they did, I think they'll have been absolutely gunning to respond and everything else. And I think this is one of them games that if it is close, maybe going down the home stretch, I could see Monaghan do it. But I think Mayo might be comfortable enough in getting over the line here. Like I could see maybe 4 or 5 points or something like that, maybe for Mayo.
Okay, so 1 for Monaghan, 3 for Mayo. It's the reverse, Liam. You've done what I've done with the Derry Armagh game. We're going to move on now to the final game, which is taking place across this weekend. And this one sold out pretty much instantly, which is absolutely fantastic to see. The newly crowned Leinster football champions Westmeath welcome Cavan to Cusack Park in Mullingar. This one is taking place on Saturday at 5 p.m. and it will be live on GAA+. I mean, Liam, this game is going to be pretty special. The afterglow that Westmeath will carry into this one as Leinster champions, the momentum that they're going to have is going to be off the scale and the support will be through the roof. Can Cavan burst the balloon?
They definitely can, simply because Jimmer McCabe is the manager. So it's going to be very interesting to see what kind of reception he's going to get from the Westmeath crowd anyway. There's no doubt about that. And it's a shame. I'm not going to lie to you. I would have actually gone to this game in Mullingar if I didn't have another game to worry about at 5 o'clock on a Saturday evening. But no, look, it's I think it's going to be a very interesting contest. I think Westmeath, after winning the Leinster title, their confidence is going to be well up to here. I know obviously there was a lot of partying going on. They would have been enjoying themselves, and rightfully so, a couple of weeks ago after winning the Leinster title. But I think Mark McHugh would have definitely got that team and said, listen, we need to lock back in right now. He wasn't a fan of, and I kind of agree with him, to be honest with you, he wasn't a fan of the draw being made before the Leinster final or the provincial finals, anything like that. I understand why the GA had to do it in terms of planning, and they do want to draw a bit of, excitement and everything like that. But at the same time, it could cause a bit of distraction for teams in provincial finals. Look, luckily enough, on Westmeath's behalf, it didn't, and they went and won the Leinster title anyways. But for this weekend now, especially with the game being in Cusack Park, the fact that it's sold out, I think it was sold out within 5-10 minutes, which, like you said, is brilliant to see. Like a full Mullingar is a sight to behold. I can tell you that. It's a tight pitch. It's a pitch that Cavan might not like, to be honest with you. Mullingar is never the best of places to go to when you want to go and play either nice hurling or nice football, to be honest with you. Look, obviously Westmeath are going to be without Luke Loughlin again, but as we've seen from the last 2 games, that seems to mean absolute bugger all, to be honest with you, because they've such good depth. You've John Heslin, who just had, supposedly John Heslin is going to be on GA Plus this weekend, helping out with punditry, I think, from what I've heard last weekend.
Really?
I think I heard Ashley, I could be wrong saying this, I think I heard Ashley O'Reilly saying that at halftime of the Kildare Offaly game last weekend. I could be wrong. Maybe I was hearing things. But
surely she's trolling. There's no way he does that. That's like Francis Ngannou going, yeah, I'll try boxing, go in, drop Tyson Fury, and then just leave boxing. It's like, hold on. You don't get to just come back for one game, win a Leinster, and then fuck off again. Like,
I mean, if he does that, then fair enough. He's got a Leinster medal now. So
yeah.
But no, look, you do it. Realistically, he should be there anyways. I could have just heard things last weekend, but Heslin there, great replacement. You've McCartan, who's in great form this season so far. Brandon Kelly, who I'm a big fan of this season, has really, really stepped up. Breon Cooney, just all these guys, Canellan, all these players are in really good form at the moment. Ronan Wallace is a superb captain as well. I can't see a situation where Westmeath lose this weekend. I think they're going to want to go out and really take it to Cavan, really show that, Westmeath had one of the toughest Leinster wins, I would say, over the last number of years. Going to Pearse Park, where they've usually not had the best of records, and have gone there, arguably probably with better teams in the past, and still lost to Longford in Pearse Park, knocking out Meath, who were a lot of people's favourites to win Leinster, knocking out Kildare without the likes of, Luke Loughlin, Matthew Whitaker going off early in the game, and still winning the game after extra time, showing a lot of bottle in that game, beating Dublin after extra time in Croke Park, having that energy and that will to go and win. I think McHugh has a big part to play in that as well. He's a winner with Donegal, and he's a winner. He's bringing in that winning mentality with Westmeath at the moment. The game being in Cusack Park as well, I'm going to be honest, I can't see anything but a comfortable Westmeath win here. I think Cavan could be in for a bit of a rude awakening, to be honest with you. So, yeah, I'm actually similar enough to Peter there. I think Westmeath could win this game by possibly 9-10 points.
What was interesting as well was, and this is a little bit of insider information, obviously, I was at the post-match press conference and Matthew Whitaker was answering questions next to Mark McHugh. And basically, right at the end, his last question, I don't know who asked it to him, but he spoke about how Westmeath had missed the boat, and he spoke very passionately, and you could see, you can see someone's just like a born winner. He spoke about how Westmeath had missed the boat in 2004, that they didn't kick on, that they didn't overhaul the training ground and the facilities and everything like that. And he talked about how that they needed to go to a different county to train this year at stages. And I had no idea that that had happened with them. And he was basically saying this Leinster title needs to be the catalyst for an overhaul, and Westmeath need to kick on from this. So that kind of interview was very, very interesting. And I would guarantee that Mark McHugh, I watched up close. He's a great bond with the players, great bond with each of them that came in. He's literally like as if he's still on the panel. There's no weird kind of age gap between him and the players. Like, he very much could still be togging out, basically. So no doubt about it, I think McHugh would have told the boys, listen, have a few nights, enjoy yourself, but we're straight back on that pitch after, and we're taking it dead serious, because everybody thinks that we're just going to be on the beer now and, we're not going to kick on. The way Whittaker spoke, I think Westmeath are going to bounce straight back. And Peter here saying Westmeath are getting a centre of excellence. Like, things are moving in the right direction. They're mostly training in St. Lomans now. Their underage teams are doing really well, says Sean. So they are moving in the right direction. I think they're going to want to make a statement that this isn't enough for them. And I think it starts with beating Cavan. So I agree with Liam. Lads, do either of you fancy an upset here?
No, I don't think so. I actually do think Cavan will go closer than people think, though. I think there'll only be 2 or 3 points in it, mainly because Cavan are one of them teams. Like, I remember they beat Mayo last year. Like, they can raise their levels. They can have a one-off game where they do something. With Paddy Lynch in the side, anything is possible. But at the same time, Westmeath at home, fully packed ground as well, completely sold out. So, yeah, no, I agree as well. Like, Mark McHugh doesn't seem as the type to allow the celebrations have gotten too out of hand. So, yeah, I do still think Westmeath will come through.
Absolutely. Well, we've a couple of good questions. Dermot Bollen here saying, how far can Westmeath go semi-finals? I think purely it depends on who they get in the next draw, like from who they win, because you've got Kerry in one pot, Donegal in the other. I mean, take your pick. You could end up shafted either way. So, yeah. Matthew, finally, what are you thinking?
Westmeath to win comfortably. Cavan have lost 6 games out of 8 competitively for a reason. They aren't great this season. I don't think McCabe is a decent manager either, to be fair. So yeah, I think Westmeath will win it. I think they'll win it comfortably enough, to be honest. There shouldn't be any fuss.
Okay, so that's a clean sweep for Westmeath on this one, and that brings us on nicely to the All-Ireland Under-20 Football Championship Final, which takes place this Saturday at 5 p.m. in Croke Park. This one will be live on TG Car. Very interesting that the venue has been moved back to HQ. Of course, over the last few years, it was in different provincial grounds around the country, but back in Croke Park this year. And again, it's a familiar pairing. If you look down over the last few years, Kerry and Tyrone have been meeting in All-Ireland finals at minor level and at under-20 level a lot over the last 5-10 years. But Matthew, big shout out to yourself. These are all of the stats that you need to know about this game. For Tyrone, their journey to the final. Here we have it here. It started off with a loss. They lost to Cavan 114 to 15 points, bounced back to get a heavy win over Down 423 to 114. But then they immediately faced another setback, losing to Armagh 124 to 215. They bounced back to beat Derry 111 to 12 points, and then beat Donegal 12 points to 8, which was enough to get them into a Ulster final where they beat Monaghan by 4 goals and 19 points to 22 points. In the All-Ireland semi-final, then they beat Kildare by 212 to 13 points. And now they're in the All-Ireland final against Kerry. They've scored a total of 13 goals and 107 points. That's an average of 215 a game. And conceded 3 goals and 107 points. That's an average of 17 points a game. And their top scorers, look at that. Shay McDermott with 5 goals and 32 points. Absolutely sensational. Peter Colton, who of course was on that All-Ireland winning minor team, he has 13 points. Conor O'Neill with 110. Aidan Quinn with 18. And you see down the list there. So starting off, lads, we've gone into Tyrone. Aaron, what do you make of the Red Hand County?
Yeah, well, like as we've seen with Tyrone over the last couple of years, like the whatever they're cooking or whatever they're eating down there, like I mean the amount of players that they're able to introduce, like they just keep they keep just spinning them out. And a lot of them are obviously now on the senior side, like McElhone, Rory McCullough, and a few others. As we mentioned, a few of them there, like Peter Colton in particular, looks like a very, very tidy footballer. And Tyrone have been brilliant just in terms of integrating these players. And considering as well, there have been good under-20 teams coming out of Ulster in the last couple of years. Derry have had a couple of good players there. Down have obviously brought through a good couple of players as well. So the fact that Tyrone do keep on still winning is very, very impressive. And it'd be interesting to see, like, to win 3 in a row under 20 All-Ireland champions. Like I know people say it doesn't always translate into senior and everything else, but like I think this would be like 4 in the last 5 years. It'd be 3 in a row as well. Like you'd be wondering, like, if it doesn't translate, I'd nearly be asking questions in regards to that, to be honest, because and look, we saw, actually, to be fair, McElhone against Tyrone. Like, we saw a few of those players obviously the last day. So Tyrone, like, whatever you say about Tyrone football, the players that are coming through are certainly not trying up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We've got a few people going for Tyrone. Shane here, of course, proud Kerry man, says huge one for Tomas and the team. They need to get over the line, especially if Tomas wants the senior job. Brilliant side, but so are Tyrone. I think we'll do it though. Kerry by 2. And speaking of Kerry, let's look at their stats in depth. Their journey to the final. They started off by beating Waterford by 2 goals and 27 points to 10 points. They faced a setback then of their own, losing to Cork by 10 points to 9. They bounced back though to beat Clare by 220 to 7 points, and that got them into the Munster final, where they got revenge on Cork, 314 to 20 points. They got the win there. In the All-Ireland semi-final then, they faced Roscommon, and after extra time, they came out on the right side of the results by 3 goals and 17 points to 17 points. They scored a total of 10 goals and 87 points. That's an average of 217 a game, and conceded 64 points. That's an average of 13 points a game. Interestingly, neither side have conceded a goal coming into this in terms of their average score. Now, Tyrone, of course, as you can see in Ulster, have conceded goals in the first 3 games, but since then their defence has been rock solid, whereas Kerry, on the other hand, still are yet to concede a goal at all. Kerry scorers then: Paddy Lane leads the way with 321, Garrod White with 216, Tomas Kennedy, a huge name to look out there for, of course, experience at the senior grade. He has a goal and 11 so far in this championship. Daniel Kirby with 110, and you see down the list there as it goes. Obviously, big shout out to you, Matthew, getting them stats together. They're available on the Gaelic Statsman and Cúilín Media Instagram pages. What has really stood out to you when you're putting them together?
As you said there, the fact that Kerry haven't conceded any goals, and this year they did face a Roscommon team that beat one of the favourites in Mayo. Mayo had the likes of Kobe McDonald and Oisin Dean and all these players. So Dara Burns, some very good players, and Roscommon did beat them. Kerry didn't concede a goal against them, and they didn't concede a goal against Cork either. The Cork under-20 teams haven't been good over the last few years, but under Ray Keane this year, the Cork under-20 team was actually very good, and Kerry didn't concede a goal against them. I think proved crucial in the Munster final, where Kerry scored 3 goals and Cork scored 0 as well. So they have firepower up front, just to add to it as well. The likes of Paddy Lane, Garrod White. Like you talk about Peter Colton, Garrod White, I think was minor last year as well from a Kerry perspective. So he wouldn't be as big and bulky as Peter Colton, I would say, but he's way more skillful in my opinion. I think this guy is an absolutely excellent footballer. He's proved at a schools level over the last few years for Tralee CBS, and for the Kerry underage teams, I think he's been absolutely sensational as well. The same for Paddy Lane with his school, Mercy Mount Hawk, his club bosses Stacks, and obviously with Kerry as well, he's been absolutely sensational. Tomas Kennedy, you mentioned him, probably the most known in the team. Daniel Kirby's probably been the unsung hero for Kerry in this season. I think he's a rangy midfielder. He scores a lot. Obviously, he got the goal in the semi-final against Roscommon, which got them over the line in the end. I think he's been very, very good as well. The likes of even Casper Roback in goal, his kickouts have been absolutely brilliant. And obviously, he hasn't conceded a goal. The defence in front of him have done well, but I think he has been a valid part in this as well. Ronan Carroll's down the list with 1-8, but he was Tralee CBS's top scorer in the Curdy Vree. Like, he's a very, very good player, a very good forward as well. Martin McKeevergan won the All-Ireland with Ballybegilligan at junior level earlier on the year as well. So Kerry do have a lot of players that have played at the top level. They also have Tomas O'Shea as manager, and I think that's absolutely massive. As Sean said in the comments, they're absolutely correct. Like, if he wants the job after Jack O'Connor, he'll have to win an under-20 championship. I don't think Kerry have won an under-20 All-Ireland in a number of years now. Like, I think it's a stab where Cork have won 2 or 3 since Kerry last won in All-Ireland terms. So that is something that Kerry want to put right. And I think this is the year that they do it, to be honest with you. I do think Kerry will win the game, simply because even if you look at Tyrone's results, in Ulster they lost to Cavan and they lost another game to Armagh. They were very, very close to losing to Derry, very close to losing to Donegal. Okay, they beat Kildare in the semi-final, but I thought Kildare, there was a lot more in that Kildare team in the semi-final. I thought they were very, very poor, to be honest with you. Kerry have faced a good Cork team and a good Roscommon team, and they beat them both. And I think they will beat Tyrone this weekend as well. I think Kerry will win it in Croke Park.
Very, very interesting stats to look at for this. Tyrone are going for 3 under-20 All-Ireland Championships in a row, and Kerry are actually going for what would be their first in the under-20 grade, obviously, since it was switched from under-21. And interestingly, they haven't won an under-20 or under-21 All-Ireland since 2008. So Kerry have a lot of history to make up this weekend if they can get over the line against Tyrone. And personally, I'm going to go with Kerry to get over the line in this one. I think you look at the experience that they have, the likes of Tomas Kennedy, who have that experience at senior level. You also look at the scores. They're a little bit more spread out across the team. The Tyrone one, Shane McDermott, if he doesn't fire, they could be in big, big trouble. And then on top of that, I feel that the fact that you were talking there, Matthew, about Tyrone have lost to Cavan and they've lost to Armagh. Kerry haven't faced anyone that they haven't beaten in this campaign so far. Now, I know that you could argue Tyrone have had more games, probably tougher tests in terms of game to game than Kerry have had. Kerry's tough ones clearly have been the Cork tests and then the Roscommon game that took them to extra time, whereas Tyrone have had obviously the Ulster Championship that we know is an absolute minefield. But I personally think, as Shane said, Kerry owe Tyrone one in an under-20 final or a minor final, and I think this could be the one. So I'm going to go with Kerry. Liam, come to you next.
Well, if you had said to me after the opening round, because I remember doing the Tyrone Cavan game for Scorpio, if you'd said to me after the opening round, will Tyrone even win Ulster? I'd have said absolutely not, because they were very, very heavily reliant on Shea that night. Like, he was getting every score for them. They looked very leaky at the back as well. Cavan, I know the scoreline says 2 points, but Cavan were the much better side than them that night. If you'd said to me after that night, will Tyrone win the under-20 Ulster title? I'd have said, I don't think so. Might get to the final, but I don't think they'll win it. But in fairness to them, look, even though they did lose to Armagh in the end, they've been very, very solid since that game, to be fair to them. And they beat a very good Monaghan side, beat a good Kildare team as well in the semi-final. That was a very good Kildare team that won the Leinster Championship as well. But I do just think Kerry, like you said there, if McDermott doesn't fire, now I think he will. I think he's too good not to fire, to be honest with you. But I just don't think they have as much of a spread. Like, Paddy Lane has obviously been absolutely unbelievable for Kerry this season, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he gets on over the next number of years. But Tomas Kennedy, Daniel Kirby, even Ronan Carroll, these kind of players have been stepping up for Kerry this season and coming through a very tough task in Roscommon as well, who, like you said, did very well to win the Ulster, to win the Connacht title against Mayo in the end, which I was really, really impressed with, because I thought Mayo were going to win the under-20 Connacht Championship. It says a lot about them, and to come through in extra time and win it in the end by 9 points was really impressive going. So, yeah, as Brendan says in the comments to production, I never stop seeing Kerry, so that's absolutely true, and I probably never will. But yeah, I'm going to back Kerry to win this weekend. I just think, they've more spread of scores about them. Like you said, they probably wouldn't have had as much, say, tough games to come through in Munster as Tyrone did in Ulster. But at the same time, this is Kerry we're talking about. And yeah, I'm going to back them to win this weekend. And I know, obviously, you're mentioning about them not winning under-20s or under-21s for a while. I can remember, wasn't it the year David Clifford was like under 20 or something, and they just didn't let him play or something? There was a rule he couldn't play.
And Sean
O'Shea. Like, if we're being realistic, if those lads from the minor team in 2017 and 2016 were allowed to play under 20, they'd have walked the All-Ireland.
Oh, absolutely. Of course they would. So they nearly fucking won the senior one in the same year.
Like, I can imagine that whoever, I can't remember who it was that was marking David Clifford in the All-Ireland minor final in 2017, but I'd say when he heard he wasn't allowed to play, he breathed a sigh of relief, to be honest with you. So, but yeah, look, I am going to back Kerry to do it this weekend. It's very, very hard to win 3 under-20 All-Irelands in a row. Now, look, having said that, if you'd have said to me last year when Tipperary lost their opening game against Limerick in the under-20 Munster Championship in hurling, would Tipperary go on and win the All-Ireland? I'd have probably said no. because they looked very bad that night, and then they went and won it very comfortably. So Tyrone could do the exact same thing here, but I'm going to back Kerry to get the job done this weekend.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Kerry as well. I've already said that. Matthew, I think you've gone with Kerry too. Aaron, is it a clean sweep, or does anyone go for Tyrone out of us?
Yeah, I'm going to go for Tyrone actually to do it. They have the know-how under their management in terms of being able to get over the line. The production of their players, like I think Kerry do have better individual quality, but I think Tyrone overall as a squad, as a machine, in terms of their system hasn't changed too much under this management, even with some of the newer players that have come in, and obviously a few players that have gone on into the seniors as well. I will be honest, I haven't seen too much of the Kerry under-20s. I have seen a bit more of this Tyrone side than Kerry, but I've been really impressed with what I've seen from Tyrone. And sure, look, I wouldn't be a Dublin man if I, had to be at least a little bit biased here and say that Kerry are going to lose an All-Ireland final.
Okay, so 3 of us for Kerry and 1 of us for Tyrone. The best of luck to both teams in the final at the weekend. Absolute, may the best team win. So now we're going to move to the All-Ireland Under-20 Hurling Championship final. Clare facing Galway. It's a battle over in the West. Sunday at 2 p.m. This one will take place in Semple Stadium. And again, it will be live on TG Cahir. Guys, when you're talking about as well, remember we're having the chat about broadcasters and pound for pound and everything. TG Cahir are showing this weekend with Comórtas Pella na Gaeltachta and the All-Ireland Under-20 final and Le Mans and everything like that. They're showing 23 live games over the weekend. 23 live games. And for some reason, the GAA keeps them out of the championship coverage. I have no idea if TG Cahir was allowed to show the actual All-Ireland Championships, it would be the best thing for GAA fans, because that would mean that we'd have the best shot at getting all of the games covered, or the maximum amount of games covered. Get TG Cahir at the table, along with GAA Plus and RTE and Clubber, as far as I'm concerned. The more the merrier. Let's get all the games shown. Side quest over there. Back to the All-Ireland Under-20 Hurling Championship final between Clare and Galway. Starting off, Liam, I'm going to give you your favourite county, Galway, to have a look at their campaign. Starting off, Galway, when this gets up, Galway beat Wexford by 4-12 to 1-8 in the opening round. They then hammered Kildare as well, 119 to 9 points. Kilkenny then were the next up for Galway to beat 218 to 119 as Galway kept up their unbeaten record. They then went to extra time against Wexford, but still got the win 223 to 116 before beating Kilkenny again in the Leinster final 220 to 2 goals and 11 points. They have scored 11 goals and 92 points, an average of 219 a game, and they have conceded 563, an average of 113 a game. What is crazy is that they are still undefeated. The top scorer list, Jack Shaughnessy is at the top at 119, Kieran Lean with 17 points. Brian Callan deserves a massive shout as well with 210, but there are 2 huge names that you may recognise in that list. Aaron Nyland with 3 goals and 8 points, and Jason Rabbit with 5 points. Why would you recognise both of them? Because both of them have been the key forwards for the Galway seniors in the league and subsequent All-Ireland Championship. So they could be massive. Liam, what have you made of Galway?
Well, first of all, I've been very nice to Galway this year. I don't know why you're saying I have a vendetta against them anymore. I never had a vendetta against them in the first place. Been quite nice to them this year. But yeah, look, I have to say, I remember watching these 2 counties go at it in the minor final in 2020. Good man, Brendan. I remember watching this game in 2023 when they met in the minor final just before Offaly Cork played in the under-20. I have to say, I really enjoyed the 2 teams going at each other. There was some hard-hitting hurling that day. You know, it was a really hot, scorching day. Not a day you want to really be out hurling, to be honest with you, because you'd be sweating buckets after 2 minutes. But they produced a really, really good minor final. And I said to myself at the time, these 2 teams will meet each other in an under-20 final again once they all get to 20 years of age. And here we are subsequently. So, yeah, I was really impressed with Clare that day, the way they won it. Galway, like you mentioned there, they have a really good panel of players now. Like, it's not just Rabbit, it's not just Nyland, it's Shaughnessy, it's Kieran Lean. These are really, really top-class players, and they will be key figures, I think. Cullen Killeen as well, pulling the strings for them too. They're going to be really, really good players for Galway over the next number of years, not just in Leinster, but in the All-Ireland series as well. I do like this Clare team, though. The only thing is, much like the seniors, they're conceding a lot. That is the only thing. 4-19 against Cork, 2-17 against Cork, 2-24 against Tipperary. That's 8 goals in 3 games that they've conceded. And if you give this Galway team any sniff of a goal chance, they're going to punish you. That could be something that could really, really hurt them this weekend. And especially when you look at Galway, I mean, they've put up huge, huge scores in their championship games. 223 against Wexford, 220 against Kilkenny, 412 against Wexford. Like, I watched their final against Kilkenny in the Leinster Championship. They were miles better than Kilkenny. They were well ahead of Kilkenny, to be honest with you. And that's a Kilkenny team that absolutely annihilated my poor county. Do you know what I mean? But they just were miles better. Like, Galway have been the best side in the under-20 championship this year. There's been absolutely no question about it. I think we have got the two. Look, if Tipperary had been in the final, I think it would have been completely fair as well. They put up a really good fight against Clare, and listen, their goalkeeper, which I have to say was brilliant to see their goalkeeper's save appear on ESPN's best saves of the week. I thought that was absolutely fantastic to see, and how he pulled it off, I still don't know, to be honest with you. Like, it was absolutely miraculous. But I just feel like Galway might just be a step ahead, and I think there will be a bit of a revenge mission from them after losing that minor final 3 years ago. I think they are a really, really good side, this Galway team. So I'm actually going to back Galway to win this weekend. I think it will be close. I think it will go down to the final couple of minutes. I think actually Galway could win this game by a point, to be honest with you. I think it's going to go right down to the end. But I'm going to back the Tribesmen to get the job done this weekend. But at the same time, I'm not even necessarily writing off Clare, because I do like this under-20 Clare team. They have a lot of spirit about them, a lot of fight, a lot of energy, as we saw when they had to go to extra time the last day. It's just their full back line does worry me a small bit, just considering how much goals they've conceded and how many goals Galway like to score. So I'm going to back Galway to narrowly get over the line this weekend.
Very interesting. A2 here saying Dublin team has been named, lads, just for your information. Con at 11, no Padder O'Coffey Byrne, no Pascal Lee Gannon is on the bench, though. The Dublin team that has been named is Evan Comerford in goal, Greg McEnany, Nathan Doran and David Byrne in the full back line, Sean McMahon, Charlie McMorrow and Owen Kennedy in the half back line, Kieran Kilkenny and Brian Howard listed at midfield, Sean Bugler, Con O'Callaghan and Niall Scully in the half forward line, Paddy Small, Killian McGuinness and Cormac Costello in the full forward line. And Hugh O'Sullivan, Tom Lahiff, Liam Smith, Lee Gannon, Keane Murphy, Sean Guyden, Ethan Dunn, Paddy White, Niall O'Callaghan, Luke Brannock and Tim Deering on the bench for the Dubs. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. We'll stick with that prediction that I made earlier. But yeah, Matthew, coming on to you next in your favourite county. The Banner are up next. We have Clare and their campaign so far. They beat Waterford by a goal and 10 to 12 points to kick off the campaign. Then beat Limerick by 18 points to 15. Then beat Tip by 215 to 214. But then were on the reverse end of a defeat to Cork by 419 to 221. But they bounced back and beat the Rebels by 320 to 217 to get into the Munster final to play Tipperary. And they finished 224 apiece after extra time. And then, of course, that infamous and absolutely outrageous penalty shootout where Clare won 4-3 on penalties in a penalty shootout that went truly viral. They've scored 10 goals in 108 points. It's an average of 217 a game, and conceded 10 goals in 101 points, an average of 216 a game, which is a bafflingly close score difference for a team that have made it all the way to the All-Ireland final. Their scorers, Fred Hegarty with 249, Thomas O'Connor with 28, Michael Collins with 12, Ronan Kilroy with 12, Dan Costello with 19, Mark O'Cleary with 4 goals, Paul Rogers, the brother of Mark, with 1 goal and 4, and then you see down the list. Matthew, obviously you put this together. What has stood out to you about the Banner this year?
Their fight, I would say. Look, I know they've only have an average winning margin of 1 point, but the Munster Championship is very, very difficult. Okay, the Limerick team aren't as good at under 20 level as in senior level, and that's probably a worry for Limerick down the years or whatever. Waterford lost every game by a point from what I'm hearing in the Munster Championship, and that was a Waterford team that might have had some of the All-Ireland minor team coming up through the ranks in that Waterford team this season. So for Clare to beat them in the first day was absolutely brilliant from their perspective. To beat a Tipperary team that have like a plethora of talent, the likes of Oisin O'Donoghue, for example, in that team, and Stephen Tobin. To beat them twice. I know like the last one was a penalty shootout, but not to lose to that Tipperary team, that's very, very good in fairness. And to beat Cork the way they did, to bounce back the way they did against Cork, with a Cork team that have the likes of Barry Walsh, Barry O'Flynn, all these brilliant players at their disposal, and Clare beat them quite comfortably in that semi-final. I think their fight and their resilience has been absolutely brilliant in this campaign. And you look at their scores and everything like that, and there's recognisable players all over the place, like Fred Hagerty did very well for St. Flannan's in the Dr. Harty Cup. They got to the final against Nina CBS, eventually losing that final. But Fred has been a main scorer for that school. Obviously, I think he was in sixth year, so he's moved on now to college. But I think he's a fantastic forward and is definitely one to look out for. Michael Collins was playing, if memory serves him correctly, he was on that minor team for Clare that beat Galway in 2023. He was also in the Artschool Reach team in the Dr. Harty Cup as well, and Limerick combined with Clare School in the Dr. Harty Cup, and he's done well in those competitions. The likes of Ronan Kilroy as well, his story is remarkable, I have to say, because he did... Unfortunately, his mother passed away during the Under-20 Championship and during the National Hurling League. He was on the senior team for Clare as well. That lad has showed serious resilience in this campaign. I think the Clare captain actually, in his acceptance speech in the Munster final, actually paid tribute to Ronan. His battling qualities have probably epitomised this Clare team. He's been absolutely brave in all of this. It's very difficult losing a parent, and obviously condolences to Ronan, but I'm sure Ronan and the Clare team would definitely want to win an All-Ireland for Ronan Kilroy's mother in fairness. But yeah, it's going to be an absolutely brilliant final overall. Galway do have some fantastic players, the likes of the Aaron Islands and Jason Rabbits haven't been playing in this under-20 regularly. The reason being, apparently, Micheál Donoghue doesn't allow them to play in under-20, which, look, I think that's wrong. You have to allow players to play in the senior grade or play in the under-20 grade while they can. Like the words of Keith Ricken, like they're young players, let them play. I don't get why Aaron Islands and Jason Rabbit aren't playing in the under-20 championship more regularly, but because Galway are in the Leinster final against Dublin next weekend, surely they'll be allowed to play this game. Unless Micheál Donoghue's worried about an injury for the game in Croke Park next week, which would be wrong not to play them. But I think overall, Clare have had a harder championship than Galway. You look at the Leinster Championship, okay, they went to extra time against Wexford. They beat a Kilkenny team that were very reliant on the likes of Paddy Lacey and Jake Mullen, but they weren't overall very, very good. Where you look at the Munster Championship, Tipper, a very good side, and Cork have a lot of potential, Waterford have a lot of potential. So for Clare to get over all those sides shows serious resolve, and I do think Clare will get their fairy tale ending and get their hands on the All-Ireland this weekend.
Aaron, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree as well. I think from what I've seen, I think Clare have shown a little bit more resolve and everything else. Like it is a hard one to judge with Galway. Like a lot of their players haven't really featured as much throughout the Under-20 Championship. Obviously, a lot of them have been in with the seniors. I don't know. Like I do think with that Leinster final in a couple of weeks' time, in 2 weeks' time, that I suppose you can't deprive players of playing in Under-20 All-Irelands and everything else, but apparently wouldn't be surprised if Micheál Donoghue does put in a bit of a word there, because Galway, they need to win that Leinster Championship. They haven't won one, obviously, since 2018 or something of that nature, as far as I remember. So,
to be honest, man, if I was Nyland or Rabbit and Micheál Donoghue said you're not allowed to play the All-Ireland Under-20, I'd be fuming.
Yeah. I'd like, to be fair, it could actually maybe even cause more problems.
I'd be like, I will probably never get another fucking chance to play in an All-Ireland Under-20 final. You are not taking this away from me. I'll have my entire career to get to another Leinster final. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do agree. I think right now there is too much of a mindset of right in here in this moment. But personally, I look at it and I go, to be honest, I think there's no better preparation for the lads for a Leinster final than to stay active and stay on the pitch. Do you know what I mean? If they played an All-Ireland Under-20 hurling final the week before, they're pretty well set up then to go ripping into that Leinster final. They're young lads. It's not going to take too much of a toll on them to play the week before. So, yeah. I agree with both of you just about. I was kind of tilted more towards Galway because of the star quality, but in terms of the battling quality, because I think that is where this game is going to come down to, I'm going to tip in favour of the banner and go with that. So I'm going to go for Clare. And Liam has said Galway and then left the call, so he doesn't even know that that the three of us went against him on this one. But yeah, that is what we've gone with. Clare has been the pick from the three of us, and Liam went for Galway. But now we're going to move on to the Christy Ring Cup final. Aaron, I'm going to come to you for this. Kerry versus Derry, Saturday at 3 p.m. in Croke Park, live on TG Cahar. This is a huge occasion for both Kerry and Derry. Kerry, of course, have been Joe McDonagh Cup royalty since the competition was brought in. They've been to the final countless times, but never been able to quite break that glass ceiling and get to the next stage. Derry, on the other hand, are looking to make a very impressive jump up. Who's going to win this one?
I'd go for Kerry. I think. I think it's one of them that it's kind of mad how Kerry ended up in the Christy Ring. Like, I think their standard in terms of what they've shown this season. I think if they were in the Joe McDonagh, I think they'd be competing early to get out of that and everything else with some of the newer players they've introduced into the team. So you can see it even in all the games. I know they did actually. I think they lost to Derry, didn't they, in the final game? But obviously they were resting players and everything else there. So. Look, with it being a big final, and a lot of these Kerry players wouldn't have tasted major silverware. Obviously, they got to a lot of Joe McDonagh Cup finals. There might be a bit of nerves and everything else. Derry will be the underdogs, and they might be able to capitalise maybe in regards to that. But I am going to go for Kerry overall. I think they are far too strong.
I agree. Kerry to take this one for me. I think we said at the very, very beginning of the year in the All-Ireland Hurling Championship preview, that live in the studio episode, big shout out, watch it if you haven't. We all went for Kerry to win the Christy Ring Cup, and nothing that we've seen so far would have in any way changed my mind. They've been absolutely fantastic, head and shoulders above the rest when they put their best foot forward. And I think in this final, they're going to do exactly the same. Kerry to win for me. Any disagreements, lads?
No. But one thing in terms of this game overall, I do think it's absolutely brilliant that this is a triple header. The Nickey Rackard Cup, which Tyrone are involved in, the Christy Ring, which Kerry are involved in, and then the under-20 final between the two counties. I think it's a brilliant initiative. Give the GA credit where it's due there, and it does give the Christy Ring and all these competitions a lot more coverage than maybe it wouldn't have got in previous seasons. So I think it's a fantastic idea. Well done to the GA on that.
Absolutely so. And then big shout out as well for letting these games be shown. That's what we want. It's the type of thing that annoys us when football games, big football games, aren't shown at all. I like it when they get someone in to show these games, and TG Carr have been brought in to show this one, including this one, the Nickey Rackard Cup final. Apologies, Liam, didn't get your pick. What are you going with for this, the Christy Ring final? Is it Kerry sweep, or do you see Derry upsetting the apple cart?
No, for me, Kerry are the best side in the Christy Ring. There's no doubt about it. When you've got players like Podge Boyle in there, Evan Murphy, Brick, like they're just savage players overall. And look, for me, Kerry, like you said, when they put their best foot forward this season, they've been the best side in the competition. I think Derry will put up a good fight to them. They'll be desperate to win the Christy Ring after missing out on a couple of occasions over the last number of years. But for me, Kerry are just a team that simply, they're a Joe McDonagh team for me. They proved that during the league as well in Division 2A. So I think they should win this weekend. And even just, I was still briefly listening to what you were saying about, say, the Galway lads and not being playing the under-20 final, heading into a Leinster final. I'm going to say this. I think it's a joke. They should be allowed to play it. It's an All-Ireland final. Like, even saying Ireland, what if he never gets to another All-Ireland final in his life? There's a chance Galway might not ever get to one ever again. I don't think that's the case. I think they will. But, like, all you need to do is go back to 2024. But that's what I mean. Like, it's all you need to do is go back to 2024. We played the All-Ireland final against Tipperary. The likes of Adam Screeney, Donald Shirley, Daniel Burke, Dan Ravenhill, Liam Hoare. I know some of them didn't play the next day, but Cottle King did. And then the following week, they went and played a Joe McDonagh final against Laois. And then the following week, they went and played against Cork in the All-Ireland series. You can it's the best preparation, to be honest with you. The confidence those lads get, they're young lads, they're full of energy. They're super athletes at this stage. Nyland and Rabbit in particular, and Cullen Cúilín, they're super players, absolutely super players. They want to be playing games week in, week out. It only builds confidence. It builds, desire. It builds so much, in my opinion. So for me, let those lads, look, if they're injured, fair enough. You can't do anything about that. But if they're not, let those lads go and play. And like you said, what better preparation for a Leinster final against a very good Dublin team than letting those lads play against a very, very solid Clare team in an All-Ireland final. If they win it as well, the confidence, I think that's why we won the Joe McDonagh 2 years ago. Because the lads that they brought in, Dan Burke, Donald Shirley and all them, they were confident after winning an All-Ireland final. And they were so confident they even lost to Cork by under 10 points, which was an achievement, let's be honest. Let's be honest about it. But yeah, for me, let those lads play. Let them go and have their day out. they might never win an All-Ireland again in their lives. So just let them enjoy their day.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go back to you, Liam, straight away for the Nickey Rackard Cup final. Tyrone facing the wild card, that is New York, brought into the competition, of course, at the semi-final stage, and they got the win. AJ Willis scoring a hat-trick in that game. He scored 3-3, and now they face Tyrone. And speaking of goals, AJ Willis might have got a hat-trick the last day, but Tyrone have been banging in the goals since the competition started. They've really been putting up huge numbers, 5 goals in one game, 4 goals in another game. This one live in Croke Park on YouTube, on Sport TG Caher's YouTube channel. What are you expecting from this one?
Yeah, look, I'd love Tyrone to win it, just simply because New York have been, again, look, I know it's very difficult in the GA or in a tough position with this, but they've been parachuted into the most important stages of the year against teams that have been slogging it since, like, probably training since November, December, and then playing all the league games throughout the sluggish months of January, February, going through the championship phases, and now you could have New York winning it after 2 games. Do you know what I mean? It would just be remarkable. And look, if New York win it, fair enough. And do you know what? I'm going to be positive. I'm going to back Tyrone to win the game, just simply because, like you said, they've been banging in the... I think the moment that they put, was it the 5-16 they put past Mayo in the opening round? That's when I was like, right, they're right up for this championship season. They're going to be a really, really tough team to break down. Despite the fact that when you look at the players that New York are possessing, I mean, Johnny Glynn is one of the top players that Galway have ever produced in terms of skill, height, size, everything. AJ Willis is a really top-class player as well. Conor Hammersley as well. You know, like, they have some really good players in their team. But you know what? Tyrone have impressed me this season. I'd be lying if I said they didn't. And they deserve to be in this final. There's absolutely no doubt about it. With it being in Croke Park, they do get their big day out, which I'm delighted for as well. I'm actually going to back them to do it. I think they're going to upset. I don't know if you call it an upset, just simply because they've been playing a lot more games than New York have. So maybe it's not as much of an upset as maybe people might see it as. But yeah, I'm actually going to back. I'm going to back Tyrone to do it. They've been banging in goals. They put 8 goals past Armagh as well, which was really, really impressive going. They have some good players in their team as well. The likes of Lorcan Devlin has been really, really impressive this season. Liam Griffiths as well got 3 goals and 2 points against Armagh last day as well. So yeah, I'm actually going to back Tyrone to get the job done. But at the same time, we do wonder if New York win this, what do they do next? What's the plan next? Anyway, like.
I think the GA are slightly being like, come on, Tyrone, just please, just get the win of this one, and then we can go back to the drawing board and plan for if New York do go again. Matthew, I'll come to you next in for the Lory Meagher Cup final. Longford facing Leitrim Sunday at 12:30 p.m. This one is before the Dublin versus Louth game. It's also in Croke Park, and again, it is live on TG Caher's YouTube channel. Of course, Matthew, you have called from the beginning that you fancied Longford to win. Has your opinion changed at all?
No, I don't think so. Like, to be fair, Leitrim have won every single game, and they've been a surprise package in many ways, more than one. But Longford did reach the Division 4 final, where they were beaten quite comprehensively by Sligo, who have been playing Nickey Rackard hurling. They're at a higher level with the likes of the Eastkey boys or whatever. But Longford have consistently reached finals in this campaign. They've consistently got very, very good results. And there are some very good players, the likes of Ruben Murray around the middle of the park, Martin Farrell at centre back, the likes of Ronan Court at centre forward as well, David Buckley at full forward. Like, they do have some excellent players, Longford, at this level. And I do think they will get the job done at the weekend. It is great that there is double headers for these games, because like, maybe the Dublin fans or the Louth fans might watch these Lory Meagher games and think, geez, this is actually decent quality. So that is always good to have in fairness. But I do think Longford will get the job done in the end, despite Leitrim winning all their games so far.
Absolutely. I'm going to go with Longford. You've converted me. Anybody going Leitrim, or is it a clean sweep for Longford?
I'll go for Leitrim.
Okay, very good. We're going to move on now to the All-Ireland Senior Camogie Championship Group 2's Round 2. Of course, it kicked off last weekend in the All-Ireland Camogie Championship. Kilkenny beat Limerick by 319 to 111. Clare beat Dublin by 216 to 310. And Offaly had the result of the round, beating the newly crowned Leinster champions Wexford by 210 to 112 in O'Connor Park. Aaron, I'm going to go to you first. Dublin versus Kilkenny, Saturday at 4:30 p.m. in Parnell Park. Again, it's a clash of the Leinster rivals. Both teams that were beaten by Wexford, and two teams that have started the campaign differently. Dublin, obviously, with defeat to Clare. Kilkenny with a win over Limerick. So Dublin need this win more than the Cats, you could say.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember we beat Kilkenny obviously a couple of years ago. Like, so we do have it in our locker in terms of beating this Kilkenny side. Probably at this moment, you would say that Kilkenny maybe have a little bit more quality than ourselves. But at the same time, I think the Parnell Park factor could be huge in regards to that. Look, obviously the Kilkenny fans will come down to this. I mean, obviously they're out of the men's hurling championship. They couldn't be arsed putting a football team together. So they have to obviously support some side, and they will be obviously backing their team this weekend. But you know, I actually think Dublin will win this, to be honest. I think we're coming in. Like, I haven't beaten them obviously a couple of years ago and everything else. So yeah, I'm going to back us to do it. Why not?
I probably slightly disagree.
Probably a little bit biased here.
I was
trying to enjoy this form against Kilkenny, you know.
I was very impressed. Peter agreed with Judo, and he says Cats minus Katie Power, Dubs by 2. I was very impressed with them against Limerick, though. Very impressed. So I'm going to shade it to them. Any disagreements? What are you thinking, Liam? Are you Dublin, Kilkenny, and Matthew the same?
Yeah, Kilkenny to win the game. And just a side note, Peter always mentions Katie Power being out, despite the fact she's been out for the entire season. She's taking a break. So it's an entirely new team. Katie Power's nowhere to be seen on this team.
She's a huge loss, though.
She's a huge loss, but like it is a new team. The likes of Cueva Caraberta, the likes of Sarah Barco, Aoife Prendergast. That's the new generation for Kilkenny. They're building a team now. They're in transition, but they are building a new team. And look, this is the new crop of players for Kilkenny. They beat Limerick quite comprehensively last weekend, and I do think they're stronger than Dublin right now.
I think that's one of the things I've been most impressed with them over the last while is they seem to have accepted that generation is gone and they're building on the new team. Liam, coming to you next. Offaly, can they back up, of course, the very impressive start that they had beating Wexford at home? It's a different test this time, going away to Limerick. This one is on Saturday at 3:30 p.m. Can they do it against the Treaty as well?
They absolutely can. I was really impressed with them against Wexford. They didn't concede a score from play until the 39th minute. They weren't behind Wexford in the game until, I think it was the 50th or 51st minute. I can't remember exactly. But they defended extremely well against Wexford the last day, against a Wexford team that had just come off the back of winning a Leinster title after extra time against a very good Dublin team as well. And they went to absolute war with them. And they showed a lot of great determination to get the win in the end. You know, the tackling in that game and the desire to win the ball back, the desire from Murray Tehan to fend off 3 or 4 Wexford defenders before finishing a splendid goal into the back of the net to win the game. Like, Offaly have the forwards that can hurt Limerick. They have the defenders that would be able to deal with Limerick. I've seen Limerick a good few times over the last year or two as well. Having gone down there to college and seen them once or twice, and they are a decent team. And it's not going to be simple. Look, Limerick did beat us in the league earlier on the year in the Faithful Fields, and they bet us, you know, fair and square, to be honest with you. But Offaly seem to have taken a lot of lessons from the league. They seem to have taken a lot of lessons from the hammering against Dublin in the Leinster Championship as well. And yeah, I have a feeling that we could actually get the job done this weekend. Look, if it was in O'Connor Park, I'd have a bit more faith than maybe going down to Limerick. That is not going to be simple, I can tell you that. But yeah, I'm actually going to back Jack Maher's side to get the job done. Murray Teaton to have another potential big day. Amy Byrne to have another big captain's role as well. Orla Phelan, who was captain last year, has just been absolutely sensational again this season. Last year, she was mainly at centre-back. This season, she's been kind of mainly operating at wing-back. But it doesn't matter where you put her. She's kind of like Pádraig Maher for me. Like, you could put her full-back, wing-back, centre-back, and she's going to excel all over the back line, to be honest with you. She's tough and hardy, takes no bullshit, is a great catcher, great hook and block and everything. So, yeah, I'm going to back the Faithful Girls to do it by 5 points. But at the same time, it's going to be a very, very tough game. Limerick are a good side. But, yeah, much like Aaron, I'm going to show a bit of biasry, and I'm going to say Offaly to win.
Absolutely. So, and then the final game in Group 2's round 2 this weekend in the Camogie sees the Leinster champions Wexford host the high-flying Clare, who obviously started off their campaign with a win over the Dubs. This one is on Saturday at 3:30 in Wexford Park. Matthew, can the Model County get back to winning ways, or will the Banner continue their winning ways?
The first thing off, I do think Limerick will get over the line against Offaly. Sorry, Liam, for that. But Wexford Clare, Wexford did win the Leinster Championship and they deserved to win. They deserved to win it, but obviously that was a setback in the first day out. Whereas you look at Clare, they took Waterford extra time in the Munster Championship. They won the Division 1B title. They won their first game, as you mentioned. They have the likes of Lord McNamara, Zian Spillane, all of them in very, very good form. With this person, Roisin Begley as well, in very, very good form. And they do have a lot of the UL girls from the Ashburn Cup as well. I think Clare Camogie's on the way up. The way they challenged Waterford in that All-Ireland quarter-final last year, they'd want to build on that. And going out to Wexford Park and getting a win would be the right way of doing that as well. I do think Clare will win the game.
Very good. I do agree with you on this one. We're going to move on then. The final code, the All-Ireland Intermediate and Junior LGFA Championships kick off this weekend. Starting off with the All-Ireland Intermediate LGFA Championships. Personally, I'm expecting in all 4 games that all 4 home teams will win. Group 1's round 1 sees Cavan host Roscommon. Of course, Cavan have been high-flying, back-to-back promotions from Division 3 all the way up to Division 1. And then, of course, winning the Ulster Intermediate Championship as well along the way. I expect them to kick off their intermediate campaign with a victory over Roscommon. They have absolutely superb players there. Shauna Lynch leading the team from centre-back. And then, of course, players like Ashton Sheridan as well in the side. I expect Cavan to win that one. Group 2's round 1 then sees Westmeath hosting Monaghan in Cusack Park in Mullingar. I expect Westmeath to get over the line. They hammered Wexford in the final of the Leinster Intermediate Championship. And I expect them to kick off their campaign with a win over Monaghan. Sarah Dillon, of course, I expect her to be leading the charge. Group 3's round 1, then Clare hosting aforementioned Wexford. Wexford coming off that heavy defeat to Westmeath in that Leinster final. I expect Clare to take this one, especially with the home advantage. It's in Páirc Keysog. And then Group 4's round 1 sees Leitrim going up against Wicklow. Leitrim, of course, the experience that they have of being at the senior championship stage, the players like Michelle Gutkian, etc. I expect Leitrim to get over the line in that one. Bringing us along then to the All-Ireland Junior LGFA Championship round 1. That also kicks off this weekend. And there is 4 games again to look at. 2 from Group A and 2 from Group B. Starting off, Antrim hosting Offaly. I expect Antrim to win this one. Sorry, Liam. Antrim's experience at this grade cannot be understated. And on top of that, the players that they possess, the likes of Maria O'Neill especially, I think could do damage. So I'm going to go with Antrim to win this one in Tiernan. And then the other game in Group A is round 1 sees Longford host Kilkenny, especially with home advantage. I see no other scenario but a Longford win. Group B's round 1 then on Saturday, Sligo hosts London. I expect Sligo to win this one fairly comfortably. While then on the Sunday, Carlow hosts Limerick, and Carlow have been having a fantastic year, winning the Division 4 title and also winning the Leinster Junior LGFA Championship as well. So I expect them to kick off their Junior All-Ireland Championship campaign with a win. Any disagreements, lads? Not at all. Very good. I have a gun pointed at all of them somehow through the screen, so they can't disagree with me. But yeah, that is the end of our weekend preview show. Just shy of an hour and a half. Peter here saying, lads, great preview. Thanks a mil. Have a great June bank holiday weekend. Enjoy the games. Catch you on Sunday at 8 p.m. for the debrief. Good luck. Well signed off there, Peter. That is it for another weekend preview show. Lads, just before we wrap up, how about a quick bit of trivia? Which county has won the most All-Ireland Under-20 championships in both football and hurling?
Cork.
Very good. Cork have won the most in both football and hurling. They have 12 All-Ireland football titles and they have 14 All-Ireland hurling titles. Very impressive stuff. But we're going to leave it there. Big shout out to ATAK Sports as well, our championship coverage partners for 2026. Until Sunday at 8 p.m, enjoy the weekend, enjoy the games. It's Torah.
Instinct.